Hello guys and welcome back.
I hated that. I hated that whole story. I hated it.
Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. I go by J2A TV. I got a special video for you guys today. We're just gonna have fun with it. Holiday season, you gotta have some fun, be loose. So what we're gonna take a look at today is the top 10 fights from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm really excited. This is my first top 10 video. There's no script for this. I didn't think any of this through other than just the list. We're gonna start at 10, 10 being my least favorite of the top 10 fights, and go all the way down to the number 1 fight. Make sure you guys like and subscribe for me. Smash the subscribe button, guys. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible. All right, so starting at number 10, we have Zuko versus the Earthbenders. I really mess with this fight. I think it's worthy of being top 10 because we see a lot of things happen here, right? Zuko being able to keep up with this very strong fighter. You know, he has this heavy hammer and he stands up to the group. It's just this badass moment for Zuko. Really, it was a good episode for his character development and kind of the dichotomy between his good side and his bad side. We get a really in-depth look for what it's like to be one of these people that's a refugee that's of the Earth Kingdom, but is in one of these like colonies, basically. Kind of displaced people under the control of the Fire Nation and corrupt government. Zuko does everything he can to protect this boy that, you know, looks up to Zuko, as he kind of saw him as his older brother that went away to war. He protects the boy, saves their family. In the end, the little boy just can't get over the fact that Zuko's a firebender and doesn't even want anything to do with him. And I think that that's really powerful because, again, it shows just how bad things are for these Earth people under the foot of the Fire Nation. This is without the little boy even knowing Zuko's true identity.
Who are you? My name is Zuko, Prince of the Fire Nation.
Oh no, he didn't know his true identity. But still pretty bad.
I smoke weed because it's healthier than marijuana. That's why marijuana is illegal and weed isn't. Get your facts straight.
Moving on down to number 9, I've got the invasion force takes on the Fire Nation. It's more than just a moment, it's a fight. It's a fight sequence, a bunch of moments. Like, you know, you have a lot of cool bending ingenuity where like Katara water bends, you know, helmet mask thing over Appa so that he's able to go underwater. You see the submarines, you know, Sokka's genius ingenuity when it comes to technology and thinking and just creating things, and how they're able to use the submarines to use water bending to shoot torpedoes and break down the, you know, the underwater gates at the gates of Azula. A whole collection of like these different characters that they've all met and seen throughout the series that come. You know, you get the swamp people, and you get Katara and Sokka's dad, and you just get Aang and Katara have this like sweet little moment before Aang goes to face the Firelord where he kisses her. Sokka rising to the occasion and commanding the forces during the eclipse. There's like so many different moments during this time. Like, I think this deserves to be in the top 10 fights. One random moment that just sticks out to me from this is when after they all kind of figure out that the invasion was a trap and the war blimps are coming through dropping the bombs, and one of the bombs just goes into the swamp dude's like head part of the swamp monster thing, and the whole thing just blows up. I don't know why specifically that just sticks with me, but
what is this trifling hoe talking about?
Coming in at number 8, guys, we have Zuko and Azula versus Aang and Katara. It's kind of the first crossroads moment for Zuko where, you know, Iroh's in his ear telling him like, yo, you're better than this. Like, you don't need your father's honor. You've come so far. Don't do it. And then, you know, that's right after Zuko had kind of the other end where, you know, he's opening up and being emotionally vulnerable with Katara, and they have this weird kind of moment where you think they're kind of flirting with each other. Like, I don't really know what to make of that still to this day, but
Is hanging around.
ultimately Zuko crumbles. He decides to pick Azula's side and, you know, fight against Aang and Katara. I thought this was super funny, right? You have like, Aang's like has this moment where he's like rising out of the ground and like, oh, he's about to go into Avatar state. And then Azula just shoots his ass with lightning. In anime and like other cartoons and just shows, right? What do? Oh, they always just stand there and just let the person just power up and get as powerful as they can to fight them. Like, no. Especially someone like characters that are very calculated and smart. Like, I'm not gonna let you power up, bruh. Catch these hands. Like, she just said, forget that, and just blasted him before he could even go into the Avatar state. So I thought that was really funny, super smart. You don't see that a lot in any show really, where they kind of prevent the worst thing from happening and just get to the chase. Not super pivotal to moving forward with the story, but a really important story in terms of character development and just other minor details in the show moving forward. So that's why I have it coming in at number 8. Number 7, I think this is a sleeper. A lot of people like honestly forget about this fight. Aang versus General Xiao. Now, I think this fight is super interesting because it just shows how smart Aang is. And not only how smart he is, but how well he uses his monk training. You know, kind of the air nomads. They're trained to evade conflict as much as possible and use other means to win battle or just solve problems. And I think you see that in full effect here. You know, you have Xiao's this hot-headed, again, no pun intended, super powerful firebender, right? General that, you know, he's over arrogant and thinks he's just gonna just overpower Aang and just burn him to the ground basically. And Aang gets him to destroy his entire fleet of ships and just kind of stand there enraged at the end. And I just thought that was such a cool moment to say, like, it doesn't matter how much power you have, you can always be outsmarted, and violence is almost always never the answer. Who doesn't love seeing Xiao hold L? So coming in at number 6, we have Sokka versus P Andow. Sword episode, Space Sword. I was so sad at the end, bro, when in season 3, like actually it's a very final episode where Sokka he's like, goodbye, Space Sword, when he like breaks his arm to save Toph. I was really sad about that, but yeah. You know, Sokka throughout the whole series has kind of been insecure about not being able to bend, and he doesn't know if the others really value his leadership and intelligence as much, and he finally is able to become his own man and, you know, learns how to wield the sword and basically learn under this master. And the only reason why P Andow was able to even teach him in the first place was because he liked how Sokka was so humble and like didn't really believe in himself, where a lot of other people that had come to him were very arrogant. Also, P Andow is, while he is a member of the White Lotus, he was also a person of the Fire Nation at the time. And that was a big deal. You know, someone from the Fire Nation knowing that they're water tribe and being able to train him still. He had that one badass moment where he's like, I got it, like, you guys just stop, this is my fight. You know, Sokka, like, it's a good moment really seeing Sokka come into his own as a man, and yeah, that's gonna come in at number 6 for me.
I am a man.
Alright guys, we're getting into the nitty gritty of it now. The nitty gritty. We got the top 5 Avatar The Last Airbender fights. Coming in at number 5, we have Azula versus everyone. I mean, this is just very much about how badass Azula is. Like, we already kind of knew that she was a fire character and she was super strong. It really speaks volume that basically she takes on the whole cast and still is able to walk away. And she savagely betrays her uncle, and like, you know, she outsmarted him so hard right there, because he's looking like, oh, I gotta protect Toph because she's blind, not really knowing all her abilities. And she exploits his weakness of caring about others to escape. Like, you have to be pretty badass for your enemies to team up and go against you. So yeah, there's some really cool shots also of, you know, Azula taking on Zuko and Aang at the same time. More and more people just coming in. Like after that, like couple fight sequences, then you get Toph that comes in. And then like once Toph's not enough, then Iroh like pops out with his stomach and just like bumps her back. And then she's kind of backed into a corner. Like all in all, it's just, again, testament to how fire Azula is as a character, just how cool she is, how strong she is. So yeah, that's gonna be number 5 for me. Coming in at number 4, guys, we have Katara versus Hama. I've made a video about this before, the bloodbending episode, of course. You guys can feel free after this video to go check that one out too. It goes without saying, this is one of the coolest episodes, coolest and most creepiest episodes of the whole series, in my opinion. You know, you have Katara learns how to bloodbend, and Hama kind of gives her whole backstory about how the Fire Nation abused her and like basically killed all of her people from her tribe. At the end, Katara's basically faced with like having to use this power that she sees as evil and unjust to save her friends. You get really cool battling moments, like Katara sucking up the water from the ground, and we learn a little bit more about how the moon gives waterbenders power. It's kind of like their Sozin's Comment type deal. Just a really cool overall fight. I'm not gonna go into too much detail with this, as I did already make a video about this, but yeah, that's definitely a top 4 fight for me. Coming in at number 3, we have Toph versus the Earthbenders. Not only is this one of the most badass entrances of any character I've ever seen in a series, like just something about the way like her hands were shaking, like when she was like doing the thing, and like this is badass. And like, you know, you're watching it like, yo, who's this blind girl about to step up and just take on all of these like big ass dudes, you know what I'm saying? And she just goes out there and just goes crazy. I think earthbending, like there's really not a lot of thought that goes into it. It's just like one of the coolest elements to watch being bent. Like they're just throwing rocks at each other, and like what's better than that? You know, you have this 12-year-old little girl taking on a whole bunch of men, grown men, and wins it with ease. Like, you're not gonna see that in any type of media. you know, very often. So definitely has to be number 3 fight for me. Highly controversial. I know you guys, some of you guys out there watching might be upset about this, but coming in at number 2, we have Aang versus Ozai. You'll see why when I reveal the number 1, why this wasn't my number 1 fight. But okay, for obvious reasons, you know, this is the pinnacle of the show, like what the whole buildup of the entire show is about. You know, Aang, the Avatar, mastered all 4 elements, taking on Ozai to, you know, make right with the world, right? I put this at number 2 just because I think it was a fight that was expected. I think Aang had some really powerful, cool bending moments in it, but I think some of it came up a bit short. Like, he didn't really use water or earth bending as much. You know, he kind of used fire bending a lot because of the comet boost. And then obviously, of course, he used his airbending a lot. But in the beginning, like, it was mostly Aang just getting his ass beat. I kind of wanted to see a little bit more back and forth, a little bit more hand-to-hand type stuff instead of Aang just running. Like, a lot of it was him getting overpowered, which is cool. It just seemed like in that fight, there was a lot of things that just kind of came out of nowhere. It's like, oh, okay, out of nowhere, Aang just automatically unlocked his avatar state again. But then, okay, also then he just pulls energy bending out of his ass at the end, you know what I mean? Like, there was just like so many things like that at the end where he just like, it felt like a Dragon Ball Z power-up boost where like just mysteriously out of nowhere, after he's getting overpowered, he just becomes strong enough to win, you know what I mean? Really good fight. The animation in this is incredible. I like a lot of the dialogue between the two in this fight, especially from Ozai. Just the voice acting that was done just to portray how evil he was and just how strong, and you just get a really good sense for the emotions in this scene and in this fight. I can make a whole video about just talking about this one fight alone, but yeah, very controversial, I'm sure, but this is second best to me. Before I reveal the number 1 fight, let's take a look at some honorable mentions real quick. All right, the moment you guys have all been waiting for. Before I reveal the number 1 fight that I think is the best from Avatar: The Last Airbender, please make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and like the video for your boy. It's my Christmas present. Please give me a Christmas gift by smashing the like button.
I still want you to have this.
What?
My number 1 Avatar: The Last Airbender fight is, as many of you might have guessed, Zuko and Katara versus Azula. Let me explain. This honestly was a better ending to me. I think that it was a really cool redemption moment for Zuko. You know, in the episode where Azula and Katara and Aang, and like Aang shoots down Katara, that whole thing, Zuko chooses the wrong path. And you know, he gangs up against Katara after having a heart-to-heart with her, and against Aang for the slight chance that he would be able to go home and, you know, be right with his family and redeem his honor with his father. But then in this fight, you know, he is able to fight alongside Katara to take down Azula and right his wrongs. So that's the first thing I thought was super interesting and really powerful. Also, just the animation in this is absolutely incredible. Like, you have, you know, the fire bending, like her blue versus his orange, and just how aesthetic that looks, you know, and just, you know, you get the brother sister showdown and kind of how their roles have switched, where now she's the one who's losing her mind and is kind of unstable, and like he's perfectly grounded. Even you get into, you know, observing like some of Zuko's style, like he's kind of adapted a lot of the different bending ways that he's kind of learned over his time of spending time around different types of people. You know, he has the wide stance where he's able to separate out Azula's fire. You kind of see him take on some more fluid movements, you know, like a little bit similar to a waterbender style. You also see Zuko sacrifice himself for Katara to save her, and of course she's able to heal him at the end and save his life. But just to see that sacrifice that he made, it really speaks to his character development, how far Zuko has come from when we see him in the beginning of the series to the end. Also, just the deterioration of Azula, you know, after the May Ty Lee betrayal incident, she kind of realizes that she can't use fear to control people, and that's kind of how she's operated throughout her entire life, and it kind of makes her crumble and start questioning herself, and she just kind of unravels mentally. She had like basically like a 14-year-old life crisis, if that makes sense. To see that on screen was kind of unsettling, especially when I watched it as a kid. Like, you kind of see it and you're like, damn, like this badass character is like losing it at the end. It's kind of crazy. And it's a really cool moment for Katara as well. Like we get to see some really cool Katara bending moments. You know, when she does the water thing at the end and freezes them both to tie her down. Really smart thinking by Katara, but it's something that Azula probably would not have missed, you know, that there's a crate with the water underneath it if she had her right mind. But just one of the best overall in terms of story, character development, animation, action, just everything, you know. And it coming in the last episode simultaneously while Aang's fighting the Firelord. That's the icing on the cake for the series for me. But yeah, guys, that's it. That is my top 10 Avatar The Last Airbender fights. Please make sure you guys pop down in the comments and let me know. Like, do you guys agree with my top 10? Let me know what you guys' top 10 is. Let me know if you think I just completely missed out on a fight that you think should be in the top 10 or should be an honorable mention. Also, make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe. Again, I can't say it enough. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We'll be covering a lot of different things, but a lot of Avatar content coming up, as I say in every video, in preparation for the February 2024 Avatar The Last Airbender live action series. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Until then, J2A TV out.